Hello, welcome to Staring Into the Abyss. This is... Wow, I forgot the intro. Let's do that again. Hello, welcome to Staring Into the Abyss. As always, I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
We're starting off strong.
We are. And also, as always, Villain Missed.
This is what happens when we take a week off, I guess.
Right.
But hey-o!
We'll see. It's your third personality talking right now.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like a funny thing to say for Moon Knight, and I just couldn't come up with anything. So I'm like, you know what? Just basic intro.
There you go.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
Today we're going to be just doing a deep dive on the Disney Plus series Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a nice little, I don't know. I feel like I have opinions.
Yep.
But I think overall it's a really fun time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nothing that I expected.
Yeah. I mean, throughout all of it. And again, we'll get into that discussion. And I'm guessing it's going to be a little spoiler talk. So just be ready for that, listeners.
Yeah,
full spoilers. Let's just give the warning now. We start talking tonight, we're going to go spoilers.
Yeah, but I think it was something completely different for them. And almost every episode, by the end of it, you're just like, whoa, Disney did this?
Mm-hmm.
Not that it was violent or anything. I mean, there was some parts, but just the wackiness of what they were doing.
Oh, it's completely like just its own thing. And I like how they made it feel separate from the greater MCU.
Yeah.
But that's also probably going to change with how it ended as well. But we can kind of go into that when we get into that. But I don't know. If you haven't seen it yet, Disney Plus, I think it's a fun time. It's definitely wacky and it's unexpected.
Yes.
And I'm happy that the MCU's kind of embracing the wacky side of the comics.
Yeah, definitely.
They were before. But it's been a couple weeks since we actually recorded an episode. So there's a lot that like I think we've all consumed between our last recording and now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first. I proposed this to be an actual episode of Abyss, and it's not going to happen. But I did see The Sadness.
Yeah. It looked very intense.
It's really intense. If you like the comic Crossed and you want to see what it would look like as a movie, that's The Sadness.
A foreign movie, mind you.
Is what?
As a foreign movie.
Yeah, it's a Taiwanese movie, and it is fucking brutal.
Yeah,
it's honestly one of the goriest movies I've seen in a very long time.
Wow.
And
what was it on?
Oh, it's going to be on Shudder.
Oh, okay.
I got a screener, but it's going to be on Shudder. May 13th is when it launches on Shudder. If you want to see it, the trailers really don't the trailers let you know how bloody it is, but they really don't let you know how fucked up this movie is.
Yeah, it doesn't show you the depravity.
And this movie is depraved.
Oh wow.
So you really need to be in a mindset to be it's like the trailer makes it look like a gory 28 Days Later, but it's 28 Days Later with a ton more depravity.
Eesh.
It's pretty much Crossed. If you ever read Crossed, it's Crossed. The premise is pretty much a boyfriend and girlfriend are going their separate ways for the day, and a virus has broken out in Taiwan, and a doctor is afraid it's going to mutate and affect our brains, and everyone thinks the doctor is crazy. And what do you know? It mutated, and now everybody is murdering each other and having sex with dead bodies and or alive bodies. Or it's just violence and sex the entire way through.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the movie.
I mean, I couldn't stomach one book of the Cross, so this is this is a hard pass for me.
It's a lot. I will say it's a well-made movie, I thought. It wasn't really my for me. I wanted to like it, but it became similar to Crossed. It became a victim of its own depravity and nihilism.
Oh.
It doesn't really rise above the nihilism and shock to say anything interesting. where it just gets lost in its own nihilism and shock, like Cross does.
Doesn't feel like what I've heard, that it doesn't have a lot of plot to it afterwards. Like after the whole virus thing premise is just like, yeah, just throw shit a lot of gore and violence to you guys.
Yeah,
it's like it will keep you shocked enough that you're not gonna notice that there's not much plot.
The plot's pretty much the couple are trying to find each other while everything's going to shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's the plot.
Jeez.
It's like wafer thin ice.
Yeah.
I will say though, if you're like a gore effects nerd, this movie has really great effects work. And
I mean, that's what it looked like.
I kind of want to buy the Blu-ray just to see the making of and see how they did the effects, because it was really impressive. If you want to see a movie for that alone, like, I'd recommend this just for its effects work. But it's fucked up.
Yeah.
I had to look away at a couple scenes, honestly.
Jeez.
Which,
so they're not like,
I nothing really bothers me that much, but this one I'm like, nope, I can't see this.
So they're not like zombies. They're just,
it's like 28 days later. They're still sentient.
It's like rabies thing.
Okay. I see.
Pretty much what it is, they explain in the movie, is they explain it at the end of the movie, is the virus mutated to make our brains associate violence and sex together, and we just go back to our base, like, primal instincts to just kill and fuck things.
That's messed up.
And like that's the premise of the movie. Like, yeah, it's a lot. I don't want to get too detailed, because I feel like that might take our podcast off the streaming apps if I describe some of the
Don't do that.
But if you want to watch it, you have the warning. It's really fucked up, but if you like it, you like it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I feel it's a well-made movie. It's well acted. The effects work is great. It just didn't really work for me. But
sounds crazy. It's just like, yeah,
it's a lot. But Matt, what about you?
Well, let's keep on the somewhat depressing train, and I think we planned on doing an episode on this, so I won't go into too many details. But I read David Peake's The World Below, and
that one, I want to do an episode of that one in the future.
I think we should. I'd be really interested to hear all your opinions on that. I'm a huge fan of David Peake since we covered Eyes in the Dust a year or two ago. I've been hooked on his writing and just his bleak outlook on life, and that was the same for this one. It's interesting because it's kind of in a very, 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 very loose way. You could think a little of a Romeo and Juliet, where you have these two families in this kind of decaying town, and it almost seems like every generation one child of one family falls in love with the child of another family, and of course they can't because they're warring families. And just so happens that one family has been accused of being witches and Satanists and have spells, and the other family's kind of running the town even throughout all these generations. So you're kind of getting a back and forth of what's happened in the past and what's happening in the present, and how this is all kind of working and how these powers kind of come about. And it's really well written. It's not it follows a lot of his style. A lot of it isn't as bleak, I would say, as some of his other work, his shorter stories. If you read the Eyes in the Dust short story collection of his, a lot of those are really bleak. And this one, throughout half of it, you're getting this history and you're getting this kind of family look and just this battle of what's happening. But then as it progresses, it gets a little bit darker, and then it ends on extremely, like, last two lines are just so bleak. You're just like, holy crap. And what's interesting is the way he sets it up is we're getting we'll say a present day interview with one of the characters, and she is talking about this massacre that happened, which, in my opinion, the massacre, when you first hear that word and the way they make this sound, you think it's a lot bigger than it is, but it's not as big. It's not good. I'll say that, but it's when you like, you especially in this day and age, you hear massacre, you're like, holy crap, like a bunch of people just got murdered, but it's not as many people as you think. So you kind of go to that, and then you go even a little bit further to explore why these two families are battling each other, and it's really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm really excited to actually sit and talk about it when we have our bigger discussion on it. So yeah, The World Below, David Peake.
Awesome. I really like David Peake's stuff. Corpse Paint's still one of my favorite novels.
Yeah, I need to read that one. That's one I haven't read of his.
It's really bleak. It's really good though.
Nice.
But no, David Peake's good stuff. I wonder if
Yes.
Vit LeMay is going to be as depressing as the rest of us. But let's find out.
Well, I haven't had any time to read anything. It's been a little issue with my cat, so like can't really focus on reading while he's in pain. The poor thing.
Aw.
He's scheduled for surgery on Wednesday.
Eesh.
So hopefully he'll be better after that.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. But was it last week? I think so. The week before that. I think it was the week before last week. I finally watched Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yay!
Me too.
You did?
Yeah, finally.
What'd you guys think?
I loved it, but at the same time, I was like an emotional mess.
Yeah.
I loved it too. I thought it was a really great movie.
It was really great. It was just so amazing to see, all the little nuggets from the other movies, and
Yes.
and just seeing how well it fit. I was like, yes, please, more multiverse, Spider-Verse movies, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh man, it was just so awesome to see Willem Dafoe just killed it.
Yeah,
and
it was amazing.
and Alfred Molina. I mean, he was
I
in
was so
probably
happy.
the best Spider-Man movie, and I love him, and he was so good in this too. So yeah.
It was so good. And yeah, I just I just kept like that time when I'm not gonna spoil anything for the people who haven't seen it, but there's this time when you probably know what happens to Peter, and I just kind of burst out crying like, why can't people leave him alone? It's like that kid can't catch any break. He lost his parents. He lost his uncle. He lost his surrogate father, which was Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this person, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Mean to the poor kid. He's only 15.
Yeah, right. You forget that, and then you're like, but no. And then even just like, again, I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it yet, but like what he does at the end and just all of that stuff, that was so sad.
It was so sad. I was like, no, stop being mean to him.
Yeah. Oh,
but I loved it. I also loved, Doctor Strange being there, and I don't. It's so funny. I mean, they weren't allowed to say fuck, and in the movie, and I was like, I found that hilarious. But at the same time, Doctor Strange like, Scooby-Doo this shit, and I'm like, come on, you can say shit.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, I was like, what? The words? What? Give me fuck. Give me that R rating.
Yeah. Well, and I also like, and I don't think this is really spoiler at this point, but when the three Spider-Mans are talking about stuff, that was really fun.
They connected so well.
Yes, they did great.
It was like the perfect trio, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I love seeing those two again.
Yes.
And just how well they remembered to be them, like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I'm not saying that I know them or anything like that, but I can feel like they were so giddy and happy to reprise these roles again.
Yes.
That it just felt organic.
Oh, totally. And yeah, it was cool. Especially you think Tobey Maguire, it's been what, probably
It's been
50,
25 years, I think.
yeah, something crazy. And just to like fall right into it. And you knew he was Peter. Like there wasn't any time, like he didn't need, at least we didn't need this. We didn't see any time of him stepping back into that role. He was instantly in that role and it was perfect.
Yeah, it was so good. I also just love the time, like, love the part when they were trying to like, you're not Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield was like, yeah, I am. It's like, what do I need to do to prove that I'm Spider-Man? Do you not see the suit?
Yeah.
And they're like walk on the wall, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I just loved that. He was like, okay, so I guess I can't bullshit you.
Yeah. Or just like, I love when they were like, so Tobey Maguire, you just shoot webs out of your body?
Yes. And just the sheer jealousness in their voices. I was like, oh, the cuteness.
That was amazing.
I almost felt like either one of them would have like been like the woman in South Park when Stan's mom gets the scrotum coat.
Yeah.
It's like, we're lucky. It's just,
movie.
it was really fun. I loved it. I want more. This is like, this movie just firmly concreted how much I love Spider-Man.
Yeah. I don't know like if they plan on doing more with him.
I don't know either, but I have hopes.
Yeah.
I like MJ says, I have low expectations, but at the same time, there's still hope.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna get more Spider-Man in some way.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, we'll see what happens. The multiverse is now a thing.
Yeah.
I know Sony's really trying to hold on to that Spider-Man IP.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can work out another deal with Marvel.
Yeah.
And like see what happens, because I don't know. I don't think this movie will be the movies will be as good.
Like if they have to rehash it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll find out with that. But I don't know. I thought the movie was really good. I cried at the end.
Yeah.
I did too.
That was hard.
That
was super hard.
But it is a really, really good movie. I liked it a lot.
It was super cool.
I'll be very sad if they don't do another Tom Holland movie. Like I said, I love the three, but I feel like he's like the core Spider-Man because he's a kid and he has such heart.
Yes. Well, and then just the fact that, well, I won't spoil it, but the way they end it, like it opens it up to him fully realizing his Spider-Man-ness.
Yeah, his potential.
Yes, it was very good.
Yeah. In the meantime, we can at least, wait and see the new Into the Spider-Verse movie. I think it's coming this year.
I think so too, and it's only a part 1, meaning we get a part 2.
Yes. I need more Spider-Gwen.
Yes. More Spider-Ham.
Yeah. Yes.
Or actually, more Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, wasn't he going to get like a spin-off?
I don't know. Was he?
Spider-Nor, I think they were like in the talks of making a spin-off.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicolas Cage.
I need more Nicolas Cage in my life.
Yes.
Everyone does at some point.
Right.
And also you go, Vitlame.
Oh yeah. I think. Well, no. Well, actually, what I'm watching right now, I don't know if you guys are watching it, but this is also one of my guilty pleasures. I like watching some reality shows, but not a lot of them. But my all-time favorite right now is Circle.
Oh, I've heard of this, but have not watched it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and it's been around for like I think 3 years, I think now. And it's super fun. It's about this. This house, and there are people there playing like this ultimate social media game. They can't see each other, but so they're all only contacting via, social messages, like on this kind of group chat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them choose to be, themselves, but there are others that will also choose to catfish.
Oh no.
And it kind of like the circle kind of revolves around fire these kind of shots at people and to make them, doubt each other, like who's a catfish or not, and they vote people out. So it's kind of like a popularity contest at the same time, and it's super fun.
Amazing.
Like there's not a lot of drama, but it's still like enough that it keeps pulling you in, and you're like, what is happening now? Like, what goofy person did you pick to put on this fucking show? And they actually blew it right out of proportions right now because they brought 2 of the Spice Girls in it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, God.
Yep, they brought Baby Spice and Scary Spice.
Wow.
And they're catfishing, so they're playing a different person.
Oh my gosh. That's
Wow.
amazing.
I know. I shrieked. I shrieked like a teenage fangirl when I saw them because I was like brought back to the 90s, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Spice Girls! It's like, even though I love metal and everything, but I love fucking Spice Girls when I was little, so that's never gonna go away. So I am excited.
That's awesome. I love it.
I
So
can't.
if you like reality TV shows, definitely check it out.
Excellent.
On the other side of the spectrum, I started a new comedy show on Netflix
Oh yeah.
starring Mike Myers
Oh, did you start
called
that?
The Pentaverate.
How is it?
It's fucking stupid, but really hilarious. If people don't like it, I totally get it. I think it's really funny.
It looked really stupid, but I'm always down for any new Mike Myers, so.
He plays like 30 characters in this,
Oh my god, that's so Mike Myers.
Yeah.
including an Alex Jones type character,
Oh my god.
and then a guy who's like completely obsessed with like conspiracy theories and is a big fan of the Alex Jones character. He also voices the computer, which has a Boston accent.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
Yeah, he plays like a ton of different roles.
Isn't he Canadian?
He is Canadian. One of the characters is very Canadian. It's gonna make fun of Canadian stereotypes and stuff.
Okay.
Premise is pretty much. Has anyone here seen So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that movie.
Remember all the conspiracy stuff in that movie?
Yes.
This is based on that.
Oh my god.
So it's a
Okay.
spin-off of So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
I'm
That
gonna
is
love this.
awesome.
And it follows this Canadian reporter named Ken Scarborough, who works for Kaka News, or as he calls it, CACA.
Of course.
And he loses his job because no one wants friendly street reporting anymore. They want sensationalism. And so he ends up going to a conspiracy convention where he learns about the Pentaverate, which is a group of 5 men who have been protecting society since the Black Plague.
What?
And he tries to infiltrate them to make an expose on the Pentaverate.
Wow.
And meanwhile, the Pentaverate are having an issue where people who are part of the Pentaverate are getting murdered and their eyes are changing colors when they're dead.
That's wild.
Keegan Michael Key's in a couple episodes.
Oh my gosh.
And there's one like when they're doing the whole like thing, when they're given the initiation during the Pentaverate, they have to choose the key, which means they join their member, or they take a cyanide pill and kill themselves. And they're like, so what's it gonna be? The key or the peel? Because he's Keegan Michael Key from Key and Peele, so they're doing a
Yeah.
Key.
Oh god.
It's that kind of humor.
Perfect.
There's also Ken Jeong's in it too.
Oh god.
Jeremy Irons does the intro narration at every episode.
Amazing.
It's really stupid, but like if you just want to like turn your brain off and just laugh, it's pretty funny.
Oh my gosh.
It gets into conspiracy theories. It makes him a QAnon. The Alex Jones guy keeps on pushing supplements on like his listeners and stuff. It's just really stupid and funny.
That's amazing.
Did you start watching it after you finished watching The Sadness?
Yeah.
It didn't come out till yesterday or 2 days ago. I started it yesterday when I was waiting to leave to see Doctor Strange.
Oh my gosh.
Which I was to say I saw Doctor Strange last night.
Yes.
And I wanted to like it more than I ended up liking it. But that being said, I had a lot of fun at the movie. And it's nice to see Sam Raimi just going full Sam Raimi.
Yeah. He's
He
been
just
quiet for a while.
he is full of quick zooms, Dutch angles. He does the POV cam from Evil Dead in a couple scenes.
Yes.
Yes.
It's got a couple jump scares in it. People are saying it's like Marvel's horror take on horror. I wouldn't really say it's a horror movie, but it does have some horror elements. There's a scene in the middle that's a straight up like slasher scene where Scarlet Witch is like killing everybody and trying to chase down our main characters. And it feels like it's straight out of a slasher. It's really fun. I expected more multiverse madness, honestly, than we actually
Yeah.
got. But we did get some pretty cool shit. And
Does
it's
it?
nice. Oh, what's up, Matt?
I was just gonna ask. Does it seem like are we getting like a clear direction on what our next big Marvel thing? Because like
what the face is gonna be?
well, yeah, or like
So
yeah, phase.
I know what it's gonna be, and we don't get it in this movie. The next big Marvel villain type thing that we're gonna be focusing on is Kong the Conqueror.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're not gonna we met him in Loki.
Yes.
He who remains.
Yep.
That's a version of Kong.
Yes.
He's gonna be the main villain in the next phase of Marvel movies.
Okay.
But in all honesty, they're probably not gonna do another multiverse until maybe Fantastic Four.
Okay.
No. No, just
Because-
let it die.
Well, I have one more thing, and then we can get into this. And my thing is non-Marvel related for all the people listening. They're like, "This is Marvel heavy." I am
of the episode.
like 30 pages away from being done with Kathy Koja's Bad Brains,
Ooh.
which is I know we discussed Decipher a while back, and I kind of wanted to just try Kathy Koja again, and it does follow. She definitely has her style of stream of conscious writing, and I actually like it in this one. So the very basic concept of Bad Brains is our main character, Austin. He's an artist and his artwork's not selling, and it's just this really weird art that he does, of course, because it's Kathy Koja. And this is coming off of the Cipher, and he gets into a very stupid accident on his part and cracks his head like open. And after that, he starts seeing this silver thing, and he starts having these seizures. Nobody else can see the silver thing, and the seizures kind of get him all crazy. So now he's on this like mega road trip to figure out how to stop this stuff from happening because it's getting really bad, and this silver thing is taking over everything. And he meets up with this like, I don't know, just drunk guy. And this drunk guy has a father had a father that had similar issues. So he's on this mega road trip around with him, and it brings in Austin's ex-wife at one point, and they're slowly getting into this discovery of the doctors can't help, so let's go to basically like witch doctors and like voodoo and stuff like that to see if they can help him. And it's just this it's what's interesting is, after having read The Cipher, which is a very grimy and kind of disgusting body horror story, this one's not like, I want to say 85% of it's just this like almost dive into creativity and losing your inspiration because he doesn't want to do art anymore, but slowly finds that he can start doing it again. And he's trying to capture this image of what he's seeing. And so it's about them doing that and kind of falling deeper into letting your self-conscious take over, because he loses time in the like at points, and when he comes back he's done all this art and all these sketches and stuff like that, and they're all really crazy and insane, of course, but it's just this kind of neat like progression into getting back into doing artwork specifically. At least that's what I'm kind of picking up on it. There might be something else in there, but that the big thing that I'm taking away from what I've read so far, and I'm so close to finishing it, so maybe it's going to change differently in this last little bit, but what I've gotten so far was just when you like nobody's buying your artwork or any creative output, and you kind of feel like nobody understands you, and you don't want to do it anymore. Sometimes you kind of just got to let yourself go and let it happen, and crazy things come out of it. So I depending on what you're kind of looking for, you could either really like this or really not like this, especially if you've read the Cypher and you're expecting this kind of grimy punkiness. This is not that. There's definitely very grimy moments, but nowhere near as insane as the Cypher was. So depending on where you're at with that kind of stuff, you might not like this one, but I'm actually liking Bad Brains way more than I like the Cypher, just because of it's just this little bit more deep dive. You can kind of see where she has progressed and is kind of focusing more on the story, even though it's a stream of conscious. So it's a lot of like randomness that all plays a really good part in this, which I really like. There's a number of times where the story is like focused on what's like the look of this weird doctor's office and this like legless person in a bed. And so you're reading all this, and then it cuts into like a conversation, and they're like, why aren't you talking to us? And I was like, oh, this is cool, because it's not just stream of conscious for stream of conscious sake. It's actually playing an important role in this. So yeah, I'm going to finish it today, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's definitely something worth checking out if you like Kathy Koja.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've also been reading Come With Me by Ronald Malfi.
Oh, nice. How is that?
Honestly, it reads like a long-lost Stephen King novel or Peter Straub novel from the mid-'80s.
Wow.
And I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a quick-moving, dark, bleak story. It's about this man who, like, his wife was his soulmate and the love of his life. She ends up wanting to go out to breakfast with him, and he can't go with her. So she goes by herself, and a spree shooting happens that claims her life.
Oh, jeez.
And that's the very beginning. And he finds a bill statement from an inn in North Carolina when he was away for a business trip. And he doesn't know why she went there. He doesn't know if it was an affair. At first, he thinks it's an affair, but he also doesn't think that she cheated on him. So he's trying to just figure out what happened, and his friends are trying to talk him down. He's like, no, fuck it, I gotta know. So he goes down to the hotel. They put him in the exact same room she was in, despite the owner saying that he never saw her. And he finds a secret box full of newspaper clippings of several women who've been murdered, and a phrase called "gas head makes you dead."
Huh.
And he begins trying to investigate these murders and try to find out like what happened to his wife, why was she looking into these murders, and what was going on, and how could this relate to her death. And it's just him trying to find closure with like what happened with her and stuff.
I can see this being like turned into a series.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That sounds awesome.
Mm.
But I think we're ready to head over to Egypt.
Yeah, I was gonna say
get our Moon Knight on.
Go to some tombs.
Go to some tombs, raid some tombs, boy.
Heck yeah.
Stay on your main personality, please.
So Moon Knight is honestly one of my favorite Marvel comics, and I was kind of surprised he decided to tackle this in the MCU because it's fucking wild, and I kind of respect, like, similar to Doctor Strange, where they introduce America Chavez to the MCU. Like, they're just taking all the weird characters now.
Yeah.
And like just putting them in there, and I kind of love how they're just like embracing the weirdness that is the Marvel comics.
Oh, totally. I think it's neat.
But yeah, Moon Knight is definitely a show that is not for everybody.
No.
Oh no.
Which is funny because like
it's a crazy wild ride.
Yeah, I appreciate what they are doing with these Disney Plus shows, which is doing going a little like off the beaten path. Now, some of the shows, Falcon Winter Soldier, and I would even say Hawkeye were both pretty standard. Maybe not Marvel.
I think it's because we've already these are established characters, so we know how they are.
Yeah, and it's just that they're kind of, it's not quite Marvel, but it's basically a Marvel show. But like WandaVision and What If and Loki, and this is them being like, well, we can't. I think it would be a little of a stretch for them to make a movie like these, but at least with the show they can just go a little crazy and try something different. And I think it when they do that, that's when it works the best.
Mm.
I think the 6-episode format's too short.
Yeah,
it was a little bit rushed.
That's my main criticism of Moon Knight. And to be honest, I thought Moon Knight was great. I think it was one of the better MCU outings recently.
Yeah.
But every MCU show does the same thing. They take on too much in the beginning, and then they don't have enough time to tie up all the loose ends.
Yeah.
Because they just they take on too much, and they don't give enough time to everything to explore. Layla in the show, I thought it was great. I loved Layla, but it feels like the show didn't love Layla as much as the audience did until the payoff at the end.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that.
And I felt like Layla as a character, I felt she deserved better than what she got in the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one big complaint, and I'm trying to, again, I bring up the other shows, and I guess they kind of did it too, is this one, I would say you probably actually only get Moon Knight as Moon Knight for 10 minutes.
Yeah, this show's more of a character study, which honestly, you've been reading the Moon Knight comics, Matt.
Yeah.
Moon Knight's at its best when it's a character study of the personalities than actually being Moon Knight.
Yeah, I think it's just, and so I get where they're going with that part of it too, but I think also from reading the comics you realize how badass Moon Knight is, and they on one hand it was smart the way they do these little blackouts and then they turn back and the action's all done. So because I get what they're going for with that, but at the same time you kind of want it, at least I want it, was I wanted them to show oh hey, Moon Knight is this badass fighter character, and he can do all these really cool things, and here you see bits and pieces of it, and then or you see the aftermath and you're just oh okay.
I like the blackouts only because I feel like what we imagine is probably cooler than what actually happened on the screen.
This is true. This is very true. Though at the very end there with at the end with Harrow, you're kind of man, I want to see how he got out of this.
Can we do spoilers now for that part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's just ring the spoiler bell now, because that's the part I wanted to get to. I think that would have been cool if they showed that, but they would have had to have introduced Jake Lockley sooner.
Yeah,
in order for that to work better for me.
Yeah, I think
I feel it would have been weird to be here's Jake Lockley, Moon Knight suit, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I think they could have done that. I think they could have shown us, because they hinted enough where it would have, instead of doing what they did by showing us Jake Lockley at the very, very, very end, they could have have us see this moment. They could have led up to it by showing us maybe Mark fighting, which they sort of do, and they show us Steve fighting, but then have Jake come in and have his style be different and just something a little different about him. I think that would have then been a little impactful, especially when you cut back and them saying that wasn't either of us, and you're oh crap.
They did hide it subtly though, that that if someone for me, I haven't read the comics, but I'm pretty well aware of what DID is.
Yeah.
Dissociated person identity disorder, and Mark clearly has that.
Yeah.
And And you definitely, if you know about that syndrome or about this disorder, you know that usually the person who is afflicted with that, they don't have just one personality or two, they have multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just felt like the minute I saw that he had one, which was Steven, I was like, yeah, there are gonna be more. Is it gonna be like a Legion type of thing? Because
Yeah.
I know we're gonna get hints of there is at least one more character there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I glad they managed to, like, in the finale, that they managed to address that part in the end. Like, did you do that? It's like, no, did you?
Yeah.
No. And they were like, oh shit, we have to still keep fighting. We can't think about that yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it just it gave the audience like, yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Like that was like one thing like they could have, because they would say exactly what you said, which was like, did you do that? No. Did I do that? No. Like maybe give us like a half a scene of them going.
But
like,
they also gave us a hint. I think Jake was in that sarcophagus.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and especially with Steven, like, hey, who's that? And Mark like, nope.
Yeah.
Also,
there.
Jake was in every episode.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
popped up
Every time he blacked out, he was Jake.
Yeah.
But even in the beginning, like when he went to the steakhouse with the girl, like Mark
Yes.
have done that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like
That,
Jake was always kind of there in the background.
Yeah.
or like the two that like you can really see is like, I think it was episode 5 or maybe episode 6, but one of the scenes in the asylum when he's all bloody, that was definitely Jake.
Yeah, that was episode
Mhm.
5.
Yeah, so that was like just to kind of see the way, because of just the way they act it with him, with Haro, and then just that image of him all bloody and stuff like that. You're like, oh, all right, this is, and just like he did a little twinge to his voice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Can we
but
talk about how great Oscar Isaac was in this show?
yes,
Yeah. I actually, because it's been a while since I've seen him in movies. I think the last time I watched him was in Star Wars, I think.
hmm
And I was like, wait, is he British?
yeah,
And then I had to do like a Google search, and I was like, no, he's not.
yeah.
And he's like, and then I had to give him props because, no offense to you guys, but you guys suck when you try to do other accents.
Yeah.
Like when you try to do foreign accents, you guys suck at it.
Americans can't do like British accents or anything.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Like-
Yeah, and I think he did a really good job. I mean, I think like if we had a Brit here, they probably would tell us otherwise. But
Yeah. I mean, some of his sayings and some of the things he said, you were kind of like, meh, this seems like somebody after watching a TV show, which
Yeah.
technically it was.
Yeah. Like I felt his accent was really good as Stephen Grant, and just him switching between like Stephen Grant and Mark, especially at the end,
Yeah.
was like really impressive.
That was
Mhm.
cool. Yeah.
Oh.
He did. Yeah. Just all of his, like, especially at the beginning couple episodes when it was always acting against like a mirror. I thought that was a really cool, like, just the way they were doing that was really good.
I agree.
Yeah, so I really like that. And I mean, you do have to give props to Moorhead and Benson. They definitely threw in their little horror elements every once in a great while.
Mhm.
So
Like the asylum scenes, they're like, that was a huge mind fuck.
yes. That
Honestly,
It just kept going like in twists and turns. I kept like, is it real? Is it not real?
yes.
I was waiting for the asylum stuff to happen because when they were making the show, they were always talking how the Jeff Lemire comic was a big inspiration for the series.
Yeah.
And did you read the Jeff Lemire comic of Moon Knight, Matt?
Yes.
So the whole thing is him in an asylum trying to like bring all 3 identities together
Yeah.
and like reject Khonshu to become the full Mark Spector because Khonshu was trying to take over his body.
Yeah.
So like it's all like him working through his mental struggles to unite his personas, which is what this show was eventually doing at the end in a really clever way, I felt.
Yes.
Yeah, can we also just talk about how much of a dick Khonshu is?
I loved him so much.
I mean, I loved him. I mean, this is how a god should be. And I was like,
Yes.
yeah, I hate you. You suck.
I love the end, the last episode when we see Stephen Grant take on like the Mr. Knight persona as being a negotiator,
Yeah.
negotiate terms with Khonshu. And then the very end where he's like, I might have broken off terms with Mark and Steven, but
Yeah. Just the way
Like-
he was sitting there was like perfect. He's like,
Yeah, he
yeah,
just,
I
I
didn't.
just, I thought it was funny, like when Mark Steven was doing that, and Koji's like, "Bitch, I have a backup. I don't care."
Yeah, that was when we were watching that. That was when he just was like, "Yeah, sure, okay, we can break this off." Was like, "Oh yeah, he's definitely got thing with Jake." He just made that a little too easy.
Yeah, he was like, "You don't think I plan ahead, bitch, please."
Yes. I just love too, like at the beginning couple when it was just his voice and just the things he was saying. He was like, "Snap his neck."
break his windpipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like,
brutal. Poor Steven, like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was great. He's like, "Oh, great, the idiot."
Yep.
Leave the body, worm.
Yeah, yes, worm. That was just perfect.
I also loved when Steven first summoned the suit, and Mark is like, "What the
Yes.
fuck is this?"
Yes.
Oh my god, I loved it. It was so funny.
That
But
was
that
a
all white
blast.
suit looks really nice, I thought.
Yeah, no, it looked really cool. I like that.
I like both of them.
Yes.
Yeah, the costume in the show was great.
Yes. Which I'm
And-
interested to see what Jake's costume looks like.
Yeah, it's funny, when Steven puts on this costume, I'm like, you're like a mild-mannered Deadpool.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yes. Especially when he's doing his little dance fight where he's like, "Oh yeah,
Yes.
come on." It's just like, "Oh, dude."
Just how he acted. I was like, if I want to see you and Deadpool come together, because that would be amazing.
That would be
So
so
like
funny.
Mark would always, I think Mark would be like, no, we're walking away. We're not dealing with this guy.
Oh my gosh.
Loved, even though we had our complaints about how the show treated Layla, I love seeing her become the Scarlet Scarab at the end.
Yes.
And
That-
I just love the fact that when she saves the little Egyptian girl, and she's like, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And she's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Oh, yes, you are."
Yes. That was super awesome.
I was like, "Layla, get it, girl."
I did have to laugh the earlier, probably episode 3, and this is such a small thing, but it was just so funny how many flares she had and how big those flares were. They were like baseball bat flares, and she was just every time you turned around, she had another one.
I loved it was episode 3 when Steven tries to fight and he just gets stabbed by all the javelins.
Yes.
He's like, take it back, Mark, take it back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great scene. Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank on it was Ian, why am I drawing a blank? Yes, Ethan Hawke was awesome. He was a great villain.
He was great.
I loved how he was like evil, but he was also very humble. When he summons Amit, and Amit's like, your scales are not balanced. And he's like, I understand. I accept my fate. And then she's like, but you can still be my avatar. And it shows Amit doesn't even care. She knows what she's doing is evil. But she's doing it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that was cool. And just his just how ruthless and simple he was for things, where he's like, well, your scales don't balance, so we're gonna kill you now.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because you at the beginning of the series, you're given this view of him being this horrific cult leader.
Yeah.
Who has the charm of so many people in the world.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when he's finally, before Amit, he's this humble person. He's like, I'm not worthy of you. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You kind of get like a smidgen of empathy, and you're like, wait, no. And then he's fighting, and I'm like, well, I'll be damned. You're actually a really good villain.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, wow, he's got some moves.
I love that shot when Mark flies over into Cairo in the night sky and just runs up the pyramid and knees Ethan Hawke in the face.
Yes.
Yes.
That was cool.
That was
a
really cool.
Great shot.
I didn't know this like with the Moon Knight uniform, but I love the fact that the cape is a moon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, this people might not like this, but I laughed. I was like, of course his cape is a moon.
Yeah. Well, just wait. If they ever do a season 2 and they bring in his helicopter, that's shaped like a moon too.
You're fucking kidding me.
Oh,
At least in the older ones.
They did you catch the reference to the Mooncopter?
No.
The what's his name? The guy who pilots the Mooncopter?
Jacques, I think.
Jacques. He's in the phone contacts list of missed calls.
Was he? Oh, that's awesome.
Going to the phone. One of them is Jacques.
That's
oh
amazing.
My god. And it's called the Mooncopter?
Yeah.
Again, this was like 80s, late 70s Marvel comic. So of course it was the Mooncopter.
Oh my god. I just feel like, okay, why don't you bring Sailor Moon into this as well? And actually, yeah, I saw this on Twitter. I don't know who wrote it. It was like some guy mentioned like, oh, I loved that in Moon Knight. They put so many moon puns, and I was like, no, they didn't. But at the same time, then I was like, but I wish they did.
Honestly, the Mooncopter is in the Jeff Lemire comic.
Is it? Okay,
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I just
Jacques helps him break out of the asylum.
That's
just
right.
like the statue guy. He's Alistair, who's always the one that gives Moon Knight the information and stuff too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's I catch that. That's because it's funny. Because I just finished reading one of the whatchamacallit. I'm looking at it now. One of the like essentials for Moon Knight. So it was all the early 80s stuff. And yeah, there was a lot of Jacques in that. And just
I'm looking at the fucking Mooncopter on Google right now. Are you kidding me? This is a copter. This is a fucking spaceship. What the this belongs on Star Trek?
Yeah, it's like crazy.
This is like a fancy version of Bird of Prey.
Well, and what's funny with those older ones, again, the ones I was reading, early 80s ones, is that like the artwork is very gruesome. They definitely went very horror. There's a lot of like melting bodies and just like this really like, so there's a lot of the horror stuff. And then there's a lot of the like Marvel-ness of like Mooncopters and his cape being a moon and all of his like ninja stars being moon shaped. So you kind of have that, but then you also have exactly what they sort of started, what they were exploring in the show, which is like him dealing with all of his personalities. And in these comics, it's just him dressing up as Steve, as Jake, as Mark, but like, so like he's doing this to get all of his information, but through these comics, every once in a while, you catch these moments of like the persona he is. Hates the other personas, it doesn't like them, or like argues with his other people around him as like Butler and stuff. He's like, no, I'm Steve today, and no, I'm Jake. I don't care about Steve. So it's like it's interesting that even back in the beginnings of Moon Knight, they were playing with this like DID and just like all this kind of deeper stuff, but then at the same time he's flying a Mooncopter over the town and he's like beating up these like weird statue people and stuff like that. So it's just like you understand why it wasn't like one of the top tier, but at the same time you're like, it's a lot deeper than some of the other stuff they were doing back then.
They also changed his origin for the show too.
Yeah.
Like his origin's a lot different in the comics than it is in the show.
Yeah, I mean, like they were sort of close, but yeah, it was definitely a little different.
They got rid of the whole like a neo-Nazi beat up his rabbi father.
Yeah.
To join the army.
Yeah.
His father wanted to forgive the assaulter.
Yeah.
And like a lot of Jewish people were very angry. They changed that. But I'm like, I don't trust Disney to like do a hate crime subplot justice.
Yeah. And again, especially for like a 6 episode like season, that's like a bigger thing that you could like think
Yeah.
somebody could dive into. I agree with Disney
And-
maybe not doing that, but that would be an
And we
extra whole
already know
plot.
Disney hates parents, so it made sense to do.
Disney hates parents.
They do. I was actually really surprised that in the latest Pixar film, both of the parents are fine.
Yes.
Well, aside from the mother being this huge furry red panda stuff that has a lot of anger issues towards her cultural heritage.
Yeah. It's like, besides that part.
Besides that, they're still alive and kicking.
No, I felt like, and also like there was a whole thing too. Like most people didn't really notice this, and I don't think it was that big of a deal. But like when they were doing the flashback, and he went to his mom Shiva,
Yeah.
and, like, threw his kippah on the ground, a lot of people
Yes.
are angry about that in the Jewish community. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but some people think, because technically you're supposed to kiss it when you pick it back up, and
Yeah.
but like it's a drama show, whatever. Like let them tell
Right.
the story they're trying to tell. It
Yeah.
got more representation for his Judaism than I expected it to get. So like,
I was especially that that the fifth episode it was there, and I was like, well, this is great, like they're showing everything here happening, and like that scene, that one's a tough, I mean, that all of that background stuff was really tough to watch, but like I get that, like showing this pain that he's going through, and like everything, and it just what's so sad too is just at like right after that moment he goes back into Steven and he's talking to his mom on the phone, and you're just like, oh my god, this is heartbreaking.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That was really hard. And I don't know, I cried a little bit in that episode too, especially when Steven was like, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of that was tough, and you're like, okay, I know where Steven now is here to help protect him, and you're just like, oh
Yeah.
That was heavy stuff. Like
it was so heavy, yeah. And it makes me also like when you see that like he created Steven to, be happy because he never got to be happy. So I'm just figuring, because again, I haven't read the comics. Jake must be his representation of anger.
yes,
Like anger at the world, anger at what happened to his family, and it's just super unhinged.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I think, and I'm trying to remember because it has been a while since I read the Lemire comics, but like
the Lemire comic treats Jake's persona as kind of like Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver.
okay, yes, yes,
but doesn't act out any violence in the Lemire comic.
Yeah, because I felt like for this, especially when you see him as a kid and he turns to Steven, that's like to please his mother, and I felt like Jake was the one taking the beatings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's like
because Steven doesn't remember any of the beatings.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why did you remember Mother that way? She was always nice.
Yeah.
So, like, Jake was the one who like took the beatings.
Yeah, which explains his very grumpy face at the very end.
I do love when he pulls out the gun and he starts smiling as he was shooting.
Yes.
It was like pure insanity.
Yeah, or just like when he kicks the wheelchair, I thought that was so great. He's just like, whatever.
I mean, as soon as that like when he fell on the ground after getting on the bed at the end, I was like, they can't end it like that.
Yeah.
And then I saw like the post-credit scene, and as soon as I saw the leather glove, I was like, oh, that's Jake.
Yeah. I know that ending was again like talking about like the weirdness of this show, and if somebody's not, if somebody say isn't fully now into what they're doing with these shows, that ending, they probably before the Jake stuff, they probably like, what the hell just happened? Because it's such a like I mean, and they did that for a lot of these endings, were such like bold endings to just be like, oh, he's gonna wake up in an insane asylum now, and you're gonna be like, did this all really happen?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the insane asylum thing. So like after when they are seeing Harrow like in the asylum thing,
Yeah.
I was talking was talking with a student of mine who actually has DID, and they have been watching Moon Knight, and they said the show like isn't fully accurate, but it's very respectful, and some of it's kind of accurate to like what it's like to experience DID.
Yeah.
But they said they like when they meditate or they try to like clear their head, they have a space in their head where like they can interact with their other personalities.
Yeah.
And I feel like that therapist's office was kind of like his space to
Yes.
interact with his other personalities.
Well, and I think that's why like they they had Haro be so like analytical and
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
oh, I don't want to say like black and white, but very much like this is a pen. I use it for write and stuff like that. I think that that helps explain that a little bit where yeah, he's dealing with these multiple, personas, and you need to have at least one thing probably in there that's like we're going to talk about this and this is how it is, step 1 2 3. And I think that was that. And it's just like I liked when the hippo lady shows up and she's like, oh, most people don't pick a sane asylum.
Mhm.
It's like in the Citizen, that's a first for me. We'll roll with it.
I also thought it was so funny that, I mean, it's in Egyptian culture, of course, and it's in the mythology, but to pick a hippo
Yeah.
to be this deity of kindness and fertility, and I'm like, this fucking animal can eat you whole. And they do that. They will ruthlessly attack you if they see
Yeah.
you. So I don't know if like the Egyptians just had this weird, sick, dry humor, but maybe.
I loved the version of her in this show though.
Yeah, it was so great. And again, another ending to just at the very end, it's just this hippo. Oh, hello. And you're like, what's happening?
I'm so excited for my costume. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my gosh.
Like
that
that's
was
just what
awesome.
you want. Is you saw Mark and Concho, she's like, I want that.
I
Yeah.
loved the last episode when she was using the dead bodies to talk with Layla.
Yes. That was amazing. And even when she was like, all right, look, I'll be your avatar, but this isn't a permanent thing. And she kept like taking voices back. Oh, I feel so good. And then she's like, what's happening?
Yep.
That was pretty
And,
awesome.
and you definitely saw that they were trying to make her like seem cute because her ears kept like flapping, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's cute, that is adorable, but this is still a fucking hippo.
This show was just a blast the entire way through, I felt.
Yes.
Like yeah, like I said, it was a crazy ride.
Yes.
It's like it was like if you had woken up from, for example, if you had been binge drinking or something like that, and you wake up and you're in the middle of a roller coaster that is going down.
I have a question, Bitlamay. What was your reaction during the post-credit scene? Before, did you pick up it was Jake early on, or were you?
Yeah, I
Okay,
picked I picked it up. It was him early on because, like I said, because I immediately when I detected he had did, I was like, yeah, there's a third personality out there, and he's gonna show up, and we're gonna like people are gonna be shocked. But there's one thing though. Why was he speaking in Spanish?
So
I
that
think.
was actually improvised.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was originally written in English, but Oscar Isaac showed up to like they did many takes of the scene, like every scene in movies, and I think like the first or second take they did, he just started speaking those lines in Spanish, and they were like, "Yes, we want you to do this in Spanish," because it's kind of like a throwback to like Oscar Isaac's own Latino heritage,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where it's like, so it's kind of like the different aspects of his and his character's personality is like kind of shown through different personas or alters that he has.
And I
Okay.
think he was just doing it to mess with people.
And like
Yeah, probably.
I feel it was pretty effective to have the like it felt more sinister when he was like
Oh
talking
yeah.
in Spanish.
Yeah, especially with the smile at the end and then pointing the gun. You're like, we have a Spanish villain here.
I, I,
Yeah.
I love when he's like the woman's like, okay, it's time to go, and he's like, I'll take it, senorita. Don't worry, don't worry. He just pushes
Yeah.
away. you got to see the limo at the end. I was happy to see that.
Yes. Oh, totally. That was sweet. And
Oh,
again, just
he drives a limo in the comics then?
Sometimes there's
Yeah.
in the newer comics there's like a Mark Spector limo that's like a super fancy limo, and he'll use the back of it to do his like Mr. Knight negotiation stuff. And then
Yeah.
Jake will be the driver, and there's also a weapons cache in the trunk for when they have to get into action and stuff.
I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Again,
In a comic sense, yes.
Moon
I mean,
Knight's just-
I mean, if Batman has a Batmobile, why can't Mark Spector and his personalities have a limo?
yeah.
well, that's what Moon Knight was actually originally supposed to be. Was like Marvel's answer to Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were like, let's just make him a little
A little
wackier.
crazy.
A little crazier.
Because the whole idea is like in the comics, he makes the Moon Knight costume. It isn't like Khonshu. He becomes Khonshu's avatar and gets the costume. He makes it himself. Like all his gadgets and things, he makes them in the comics.
Yeah.
I think that is usually Marvel's signature. They always kind of make the people, like the characters, make their own costumes. I mean, Tony did that.
Yeah.
And you've seen, I mean, all of the others have done it too. Spider-Man, for example.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So that's just their way. So
Like, it's probably their way of saying, like, hey, even though we have some characters that are super fucking rich, they still can do them themselves.
that's right. They still get their hands dirty.
They don't need a fucking butler.
I will say
even though everyone loves Alfred.
Yeah.
The main difference in personalities is in the comics, Steven is kind of like the schmoozy type billionaire personality.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like he gets the money from that.
Yeah. Because as Mark Spector, he's made a lot of money as a mercenary.
Yeah.
So he's invested a lot of money. So he's actually very wealthy.
Huh.
And then Stephen Grant uses that wealth to get into circles that Jake Lockley can't or Mark Spector can't.
I don't think they're gonna do that if they're gonna continue with Moon Knight, like on Disney Plus.
I think they're gonna keep on having the Mr. Knight negotiator thing because I think that's the persona.
I mean, you see him as he's the good cop against Mark's bad cop.
Yeah.
But I don't see him being the smoothie, sleazy guy.
Yeah, no, I think they'll play that a little differently for the show.
I think so too. But
I
think everything they change. They change to make it work more with the MCU.
Yes.
Then because if you look at Moon Knight from the comics, a lot of it wouldn't work in the MCU.
No, I was
There's
just gonna
like when they revived Moon Knight in the early 2000s, and like they had this really dark like Bushman was cutting off people's faces and
yes,
putting them on his own face.
Yeah,
and,
it was.
Moon Knight was extra brutal, and he tries to join the Avengers. And the Avengers are like, "Nah, man. Like,
Yeah,
you're too hardcore for us."
I was gonna say there's a great Brian Michael Bendis run in which he, as I think it's as Steven, he's trying to make a show about Mark Spector, but as Moon Knight, he instead of seeing his other personas, he has Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine in his head, and so
I think I saw like there's
that run that much, but
no, I thought it was fun just because like he takes on those personas as Moon Knight. So when he gets really angry, Wolverine takes over and he goes and does his business. But what's funny too is at one point because of the Avengers stuff, he actually does get involved with Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Captain America, and he's like, "Are you guys real?" And they're like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Oh, never mind." He doesn't want them to know. Or there is, and this is like a goofy series, but Savage Avengers, which has Conan the Barbarian and Venom and many others, but it's mostly kind of focused on Conan, and they go and do stuff. But at one point, they get Punisher and they get the Moon Knight, and Punisher says, "Hey, Moon Knight, are you still insane?" And Moon Knight, and this is like my favorite line and just totally encapsulates Moon Knight now. He looks at Punisher and he says, "Is your family still dead?" And you're just like, yes. And they're like, "Oh
So
yeah."
basically, it was his version to bear shit in the woods.
Yes, and just to prove, they're like, "Oh yeah, Moon Knight's still insane. He just doesn't care."
That's something I think Deadpool would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't expect him to say that.
Yeah, so he's just as like, so it's fun to like, the show makes him one way, and then yeah, like you were saying, Rich, it's like when you read the comics, you're like, oh, this guy is insane.
Yeah,
I
and like
was
he's pretty far gone in the comics. It's also in the comics when he became Khonshu's avatar that broke his brain.
Yeah. So I was wondering, because I know we're getting close to it, where in the timeline you think this show takes place?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm assuming everything's post snap at this point.
Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, the Eternals happened post snap, right?
Yes.
Yeah, part of it did. It took place very pre and then post snap.
Yeah, because they talk about that. Why they didn't step in? But then I think Spider-Man. I think the second, so not No Way Home, but the other one,
Far From Home.
Far From Home. That one, I'm trying to think.
That's after the snap.
That one, I think that one addressed the snap the best.
Yes,
they did.
Or
the
maybe
new Doctor Strange actually addressed the snap in one scene really well, I thought.
Yeah.
Well,
there's one that takes place. It does take place post snap, but it takes place like far away from post snap, like 5+ more years, and I can't remember which one it is. Because that some of the things I was reading, they were talking about Moon Knight taking place, yes, post snap, but like almost like pre one of the other movies or shows.
They avoided addressing the snap Moon Knight just because he feels so far removed from the other characters.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think what they did worked well for the show, and I think trying to bridge it to the greater MCU might have just been a bit too much.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, since you mentioned Spider-Man, Matt, I think Moon Knight might be happening before Far From Home.
Yeah.
Because in Far From Home, Spider-Man and Mysterio, they fight in London. And the Moon Knight starts in London.
Yes, that's it. I was trying to remember because there was something that had like, and it's been a while since I've seen the Mysterio one. I can't remember if they blow up the bridge or
they blow up the bridge.
Yeah, they blow up the bridge.
And that's where it was the talk, was because I think in both Eternals and this, I think the bridge is still there. So
yeah,
that was there it is. Okay. I was trying to remember where it was happening because that's what and I think that's what, and you start reading all the theories and rumors because that's part of the talk with a lot of the Disney Plus shows is that they've been leading up to the Young Avengers and they have all these characters, each character, side character almost in all of the shows are Young Avengers. And the theory for Moon Knight is that they're leading up to, I think, Marvel Knights, which is giving us Blade and Black Knight, and then it's gonna be Moon Knight, and then I think there might be somebody else in there. So just trying to like.
We got the first hint at Black Knight in Eternals.
Right, and Blade. So.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I think we had kind of talked
in the post-credit scene when Kit Harington's character like has the sword.
Yeah.
For a Black Knight. The voiceover to that's Blade.
Yeah. So Blade says something to him. I can't remember what he says now, but yeah, that's the person playing Blade is as Blade. So you don't see him, but you hear him.
Yeah. When have they started filming Blade?
No.
No. Yeah.
And was it going to be a movie or a series? I can't remember.
I remember what I heard. I remember it was going to be a movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Oscar
Isaac, I don't know. I noticed this before, but he was just really good in the role.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed him. He really can act. And I want to see him more like in more action. I didn't feel like we got a lot of him doing like the moves, and I just feel like he can do that. Give him some room. He can do that.
I feel we got like 13 minutes of it in the finale.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, give me more. He can fight. You can just let him show you.
Yes.
Although it was really cool to see like the Stephen Grant persona whooping ass.
Yes,
Yes.
that was fun.
That scene. But no, like I don't know. I feel like Moon Knight. I haven't seen Hawkeye, so I can't say. But where does Moon Knight rank on your MCU TV show lists?
Oh man. I would say it's near the top. I mean, WandaVision was probably the best just because of what they did with that. And I really liked Loki. So I would put it somewhere with those two.
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye was fun. But
I haven't watched Hawkeye or Captain America and no, the Falcon and Bucky.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know. I feel like it kind of ended like a wet fart.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
the ending really hurt. I think what really hurt Falcon and Winter Soldier, like it has a lot of good things about it. I don't want to say the whole thing's bad. It has a lot of interesting things to say about the character of Captain America.
Yeah.
It has a lot of interesting things to say about Sam Wilson. And also you get US Agent in that show as well. That's going to probably come back around too. I think what hurt that show is they had to do massive rewrites because of COVID.
Yeah.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
And I think that really hurt the show. But I do think like it was a decent show. I think WandaVision is probably my favorite, with this as a close second.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But I think this has a better finale than WandaVision had.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like I think of the Marvel Netflix series of of the Disney series of what I've seen. Moon Knight had the strongest finale.
Yeah.
I think with WandaVision, they were too much. They knew Doctor Strange was coming, and so they let it too much up to that. And even like, I guess, Hawkeye, not so much. They ended that. Like, it had an ending. It kind of hinted at possible future. I mean, we'll see what they have planned, but I agree with Falcon Winter Soldier with that. And then just it seemed like they were too set up on what they were going to do with Black Widow. And then I guess technically with what they were going to do with Hawkeye too. So I'll say that. But this one felt like, well, it's an ending. We could do more, or we could just kind of say there's somebody else here.
Yeah.
I just would like to see him whooping ass, like actually
Yes.
full personas in sync with each other, and just
definitely.
like doing Moon Knight shit. And I think that'd be cool. Give us the Mooncopter, like you gotta give us the Mooncopter.
Yes.
Bring Jacques into it.
Heck yeah.
But no, like, and I also think
more Layla.
Yeah,
yes.
More Layla. Like, we need more Layla. I thought
agree.
She was wonderful.
She was awesome.
And plus,
loved her fight scenes. She was amazing at that.
The Scarlet Scarab, costume is pretty fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Tabret, we got you. We got you. Your costume is pretty dope.
And I thought the horror elements in this are pretty effective too. Like, there wasn't a lot of, but like, they were honestly, I think they're more effective in Moon Knight than they were in Doctor Strange. Now I'm thinking about it.
I mean, you're in a really old tomb, and there's something crawling there. Of course, that's super fucking scary.
I love when he shoves his hand down Alexander's the Great mouth.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
What was I know because you haven't read the comics, Vit LeMay. What was your reaction when he first woke up in the mental hospital?
I was like, I was confused. I didn't know. It's like that's the thing when I was like, wait, has it opened in his head? Are they actually gonna go down that route? Are they gonna do this? Was all a fucking dream?
Because that was
thankfully they didn't, and I just love the transitions of how they managed to keep us twisted and turned the entire time, because I didn't see it coming.
They did a good job with that.
That was a huge curveball. And there's also, it's like, by the end, seeing all the personalities come together, like when Mark made it to the Field of Reeds, but he couldn't leave Steven behind.
Yes, it was so cute. And the way they hugged at the end, I was like, they're as one. They can't live without the other.
I also love when they bring Steven, when you get Steven back, and you see a tower with the boat, and Steven's like, Hippo!
Yep.
It was just, I don't know. Being a big Moon Knight fan, the show definitely hit all the notes it needed to for me. But I could definitely see it not working for a lot of people. But it seems to have been a hit. Like, people seem to really like it.
Yeah, I think so.
It hasn't gotten any like bad rap.
I love, like, after I finished the final episode, I went to YouTube and I just looked up reactions to people reacting to like the end of the episode, just to see like if the Jake Lockley thing like surprised them or not. It
Yeah.
surprised me a few people didn't realize it was a third personality at first.
Oh, really?
I thought it was kind of obvious, but again, as soon as I saw the glove, I'm like, "Ooh, that's Jake."
Yeah, right.
He has even the mustache. That's what he was missing, is the mustache.
Right. They'll give it to us next season, maybe.
Because Jake Lockley has a mustache in comics.
Oh Lord, if they if they do that, because you can't really physically grow a fucking mustache in that quick amount of time. So
Yeah.
if they are gonna bring him wearing a mustache, I hope they always keeps a fake mustache in his pocket.
But yeah, like I think we got a pretty solid origin story.
I think
Which is
so.
something we haven't got a lot of in recent Marvel stuff. They tend to
No.
stumble on a few origins. I'm looking forward to see where that goes in the future.
Yep. It should be
Now,
good.
I will say for next week, I don't think we have decided on a story for next week
No, I
to
don't think so.
discuss.
Yeah.
I have an idea of what I would like to discuss. Has anyone ever read Gene Wolfe before?
No.
Have you heard of Gene Wolfe before?
Yes.
No.
He is a kind of like classic sci-fi author. He dabbles in some horror here and there. It's kind of like sci-fi, speculative fiction, some fantasy. He has a story that I think is one of the greatest short stories ever written, called The Island of Dr. Death and Other Stories.
Nice.
And I'd like to discuss that story next weekend. If not, we can update our Twitter to let people know what we'll be discussing.
Mhm.
But we can talk about this a bit more after the podcast.
Perfect.
And does anyone have any final thoughts on Moon Knight?
No, I think we've said it all.
Just go watch
All
it.
right. And
Yeah.
May, what can our listeners get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on Twitter as VitlemayS. Hopefully this summer I will be back on the book reviewing bandwagon on my booktube channel at Famed Pipsqueak Reads, and hopefully again I'll also be jumping back on TikTok as Vitleme Mist.
All right. And Matt, what about you?
I am on Twitter at BrandenburgDM.
You can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088 and be sure to follow Abyss with @IntoStaring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.